Good morning, everyone. How are you? This morning is brought to you by Starbucks. As you know, sorry about that. I should have cleaned that up. So, how you doing? You all right?
Great.
So today we have, what time is it, by the way? There's no clock in here. 25? So I'll finish by 10:25 for sure. And after that, then we take a break, right? So if we don't have too much time for Q&A now, of course, the Q&A continues over a nice blend of Starbucks coffee. Okay. Would you like a watch? I'm sorry, I can't see that. Puts me to sleep. Are you trying to hypnotize me? All right. I think I am. It's working. So we're going to talk about this idea of presenting naked, but with technology, or I should say with slides. So how many of you, by the way, are not from Japan, but are not living in Japan? I don't mean the Gaikokujin who are already living in Japan, but how many of you came just for this event? So that's quite, wow, that's a big number. Okay. So the reason, and then the rest of you, who are the other Gaikokujin who live here? And then are there any Japanese here? Actually, Nihon no kata. Yokoso irashaimashite. So I love Japan. I think we all do. And I live here. I think one of the strongest connections for me is the natural world in Japan. And then you see this reflected in the arts, the so-called Zen arts, such as Sado or Ikebana, Sumie, and rock gardens and Zen gardens and on and on. And yet, Japan is probably home to the worst presentations you will ever see. And I've been all over the world and I've seen all the worst, and Japan is probably the worst. And just to show you, I took this secretly. This was an APEC meeting. I blurred out to protect the guilty, but this was a famous presenter, or famous politician anyway. And lots and lots of data. He was looking down, reading notes, and this was not a good presentation, but it's very normal. So I took this picture with my iPhone. This was after 10 minutes. And then after, of course, everyone says, oh, that was really interesting presentation. Liar! It was not, and you were sleeping anyway. But they were sincere. It's normal, because that document of 100 pages was the same slides, and everyone just had a nice nap, and they went home. But this is not communication. So the theme that runs through the whole presentation Zen idea, and actually 21st century presenting, if you want to call it that, is restraint, simplicity, and naturalness. So restraint in preparation, simplicity in design, and how you organize and put things together, and then a naturalness in delivery. I know you are all teachers, so you're already great presenters and communicators, but the point isn't to be perfect, but to be more natural. And of course, if we're natural, that's going to be imperfect. So I'm going to do a little self-introduction, or jiko shokai, because Darren, messed it up. So, and then it sounded too nice. You had nothing about the other stuff. All right. And then you're going to do something too, because you just can't sit all day. You're going to actually do something. So very quickly, I come from this place. This is on the West Coast. This place is called Oregon in the United States, although this is my home and I've lived here for over a generation now. But this is where I'm from. This is where I grew up. It's beautiful. This is winter, and this was the view from my bedroom. The next country is Japan. That's why I love Japan. We couldn't see Japan from my bedroom. I could see Russia, however. That's what kind of common knowledge. Sorry. So this is an old picture from and that's me and the smallest one with my brothers. And as you can see, there's a koi pond there, and there was Japanese architecture all in our house. After a few years, they had to fill the pond in with rocks because I kept falling in, and a 2-year-old might drown in that. But you might notice here the rocks. So for some reason, rocks have always been in my head. Well, that doesn't sound right, but you know what I mean. I've had something about rocks. So I think that's why I'm passionate about Japan and love Japan, as I know many of you do as well. So when I was in high school, a long time ago, I started to study photography and had to give my first presentation using, well, I'll show you what I used. I think I have a slide for that. Well, I talked about the environment, and I'm from Oregon, so there's a lot of tree karma in my body. So I talked about pollution and then cleaner sources of energy. That was the theme. But the presentation that I gave used something like these. These are called slides. I don't know if you've seen these before. But my teacher never told me about, well, we didn't have PowerPoint then, and he never told me about bullet points. We didn't know what a bullet point was. It was something maybe you put in a paper. But he says, use your camera and go out and take pictures. Well, first, prepare, storyboard, have an idea, research. After you have that and you do the sketches, because we had to we go to the drugstore and have to wait a couple of weeks to get the pictures back. So anyway, it was very, very visual. He said you use images, you can have narration, you can have audio, and using 2 slide carousels, it's a beautiful multimedia presentation. And this was in 1949. So this, no, no. Get out right now. You're like, wow, you look pretty young. Now, that was in the 80s anyway. Wow, you believe anything. God. Thanks for that confidence. So anyway, I got to cut the introduction short. So I moved to Japan a long time ago. I worked for Sumitomo Electric. When I met Darren for the first time, I was with this company. It's a very traditional kind of company. Then I went to work in Silicon Valley at the head office of Apple. And I did that for a while until I got tired of living in the United States. I'm really drawn to Japan, so I miss Japan a lot. But at that time, when I worked at Apple, I had to give presentations. We didn't have any special training in it, but when I went around the States, I had to give lots of talks. Sometimes technical talks, sometimes big audiences, sometimes small audiences, medium audiences, and so on. So this is more formal, very technical, sort of a medium-sized audience, but the audiences are very demanding. If you work for Apple, the Apple brand, people are really into it. So it was good boot camp training to present, because obviously the audience is much smarter than I, just as you are much smarter than I am. The whole audience is much smarter than one person. So this was really good training for me. So I learned that I had to prepare carefully in the hotel rooms across the United States. And I learned that you prepare away from the computer, not at the computer. In spite of what Microsoft says, your best thinking is not at the computer. You need to get away from the computer as much as possible. And that's what we actually did at Apple. And the other thing I was very inspired by, of course, was this guy. That's one reason why I went to work there, is to spy on kind of how they do it, how he does his big keynotes. So he does very technical talks sometimes, lots of information, but yet the visuals are very big, and the focus is on the message and the presenter and the connection with the audience. But the visuals are great as well. But as I went around the United States, I realized, and Japan a little bit, that all was not well when it comes to presentations. Many presentations kind of look like this, right? One slide after another, turn off the lights, presenters in the back. I don't know if you've ever been in this situation. So many years ago, I thought, I must do what I can to stop bad presentations. And so that led to the blog where everything is free. So it's led to all these projects and a bento box and all this stuff. But you can get everything basically for free on presentationszen.com. So Google that or take a picture, and that's where you can get everything for free. All right, so that's my little Jiko Shokai. Now it's your turn, because you've been sitting already for 35 minutes or something like that. So you might know this. How many Apple fans? Do we have any Apple fans? Any nerds? Oh, wow, lots of nerds. Okay. I'm a nerd too, but you might know the legend that if you get in the elevator at the head office at Apple with Steve Jobs by accident, then he'll look at your badge, you work there, and he'll say, oh, what do you do here? And if he doesn't like the answer, then by the time you get back to your computer, your email doesn't work. Right? So this is the myth. But actually, it's kind of true. He will ask you what you do, and you better have a good answer for that. So it is important that we be able to make a little presentation and say who we are and why it matters. So what we'll do is we'll change it a little bit. So I want you to stand up and meet the person next to you or behind you, someone you don't know. So who are you? But the big question is, why are you here? So if you're not from Japan, then you can do it Japanese way. So do you all speak Japanese, or should I can teach you Japanese? This is hajimemashite. Let's all repeat after me. Hajimemashite. And then you say, your name des. Your name. No, not your name. This is a rough crowd. One more outburst like that. One more outburst. Another hour of this and I'm leaving. Okay, so hajimemashite, Susan desu, and then you can shake hands. If you are Japanese, you have to do it in English. That's the rule we'll have for you. Okay, anyway, do it in any language that you want. But do the greeting, and then the question is, the big question really is the second one, why are you here? Can you articulate that in a very clear way? Okay, so let's just spend about 48 seconds doing that. Are you ready? So stand up, please, and meet someone next to you.